Outside of something you've made, is there a particular steak that stands out where you're like, this is the best steak I've ever had?
Yeah, I literally got asked this question the other day. It was what's my favorite food memory that I've ever had? And the first thing that jumped to mind was Marshall Seedorf made me an elk chop steak that he had killed, and he made it for me at his house, and he served it with Axis tenderloin, and it was the best meal I've ever had in my life.
Dude.
It was over the top. And it was Marshall and his wife. It was me and my wife. And there was great friends. There was great conversation. There was this amazing meat that he had harvested, that he had prepared. He had butchered everything. I mean, straight out of like bags with like a date on it and everything. Just cast iron seared it. Super simple. I don't even know what he did, but it was to die for. It was best, probably one of the best meals I've ever had. I mean, time, place, context, people, conversation have a lot to do with that. But pure flavor and like food, like it's right up there. Probably one of the best.
Dude, that's a big compliment to Miles too.
Yeah, Marshall.
Sorry, why did I say Miles?
Yeah, he's pretty proud of that because I told him that the other day. I told him that I said, hey man, you need to watch this. Somebody asked me that, and he was like, big compliments coming from you.
His ego must have been insane that day.
Yeah, he was probably pretty fired up.
Yeah,
it was that was the best memory, like steak wise, that I think I've ever had. I think steaks are hard to stand out, man.
Yeah.
You know, like you get
really are.
You get like a dry aged Delmonico, or you get, you know, some crazy, you know, A5 Wagyu. Yeah, you can tell that those are different, but like pretty much everything in between to me kind of tastes relatively the same.
Yeah.
It's really hard to go to a restaurant and get a steak too.
That's exceptional.
Yeah.
I will say, Harry and I were speaking at a conference in Vegas 2 weeks ago, and we went to Cut Wolfgang Puck's spot in Vegas. That was one of the best steaks I've ever had.
Yeah.
For like a steakhouse quality, it was insane. But again, you're still kind of biased because it's like the appetizers, it's the sides.
Yeah.
It's like that whole experience that blends together that makes it so exceptional.
That's kind of why I think my mind immediately went like a home meal.
Yes.
Because like one of the best restaurants I've ever been to in my life is Canlis in Seattle. The food's good, but I mean, the service, the atmosphere, the ambiance, I mean, it's world famous for their service, but like that's probably one of the best restaurant experiences I've ever had. But the food is like, it's good. It's really good. Don't get me wrong. But it's everything else. So I think when you talk about like what's the best food or best, you know, meal, it's like there's so many other things that go into it that aren't on the plate.
Yeah. I think if you ask like 9 out of 10 people and ask them to answer that same question, I would say 9 out of 10 would be some type of home cook experience with the people that they love.
Yeah, and if they thought really hard about it, it might even just be a dish that like their mom made when they were growing up, or their grandmother made, or that they took part in with, you know, a loved one or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of food, and that's the thing that I think gets lost in restaurants a lot of times, is there's such an experiential element to restaurants that doesn't always appear on the plate. And I think that sometimes it's easy to lose your way and forget that as a restaurateur, that it's the whole package. It's how you're greeted at the door. How's the parking lot look? Is there toilet paper in the bathrooms? Was the person behind the bar, like, were they well groomed? Like, do they have, you know, hair hanging out of their mouth? Did the kid behind the cashier, was he chewing gum and smacking his lips? And, you know, was the menu crooked? Like, there's so many little things. Was there paper towels when I sat down? Was the booth clean? Like, all of those little things kind of remove people from an atmosphere and an ambiance that should be like indicative of what the restaurant is trying to deliver. But all those little touch points along the way can really like hijack your senses out of that. And so I think a really well executed meal, whether it's at home or in a restaurant, a lot of times it's just as it should be. So I think a lot of times when you're in a restaurant space and you're trying to create a great experience or a remarkable moment, you're really just trying to get yourself out of the way.
Yeah.
You know?